Let's get a check now of the top business news stories. Our business editor, Kate Moody, is here. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Tom.
Let's begin by looking at the pound sterling, the British currency dropping to a 6-month low, and it's all about uncertainty relating to Brexit, isn't it?
Yeah, because the two sides really should be closing in on a trade deal right about now, and those trade negotiations are ongoing. But the focus is now on the withdrawal deal that was reached a few months ago, and the UK threat to walk back from it a little bit. Now, a statement from the European Commission has threatened legal action against the UK if it doesn't withdraw that controversial bill, which would violate parts of their previous agreement. Markets are now increasingly betting on a no-deal scenario after the Brexit transition period ends on December the 31st. Now, the pound had stabilized earlier in the session, but it slumped amid that renewed volatility on the currency markets. It's dropped below $1.28 there, and about €1.08 this hour. Well, let's check in on the rest of the day's trading action, and it is a choppy session for Wall Street. We're seeing the Dow Jones with 20-point swings both above and below the flat line throughout today's session. The Nasdaq is down about 1.76% this hour, as amidst renewed fears of a possible tech bubble there. Apple leading shares lower there. Earlier on, we saw the European markets also closing slightly lower, shares in Milan up slightly in the green there. Still worries about the tech sector in Europe as well. Now, one of the factors that was driving European trade today was a slightly upbeat statement by the European Central Bank. Christine Lagarde forecast that the Eurozone economy would shrink 8% this year, compared with an earlier projection of 8.7%. The ECB had acknowledged headwinds for the economic recovery, but she made no change to the stimulus program or interest rates. The euro has recently gained strength on the currency markets, which can hurt exports, but Lagarde said that she was only monitoring the implications.
We do not target exchange rate. Our mandate is price stability. And clearly, to the extent that appreciation of the euro exercise negative pressure on prices, we have to monitor carefully such a matter.
LVMH says it will launch a countersuit against Tiffany over their collapsed takeover deal. The French luxury group announced it was pulling out of the process on Wednesday, citing a number of factors, including pressure from the French government as it deals with a transatlantic trade spat. The American jeweler said it would launch legal action to push for the $16.2 billion deal to be completed. In a statement, LVMH described that lawsuit as totally unfounded and, quote, clearly prepared by Tiffany a long time ago. It vowed to defend itself vigorously in U.S. court. LVMH further criticized Tiffany for issuing dividends even as it was losing money, saying that Tiffany's performance during the pandemic was significantly worse than that of other LVMH brands. The number of Americans filing for jobless benefits for the first time rose slightly last week. 884,000 new claims were recorded by the Department of Labor. That's slightly higher than the previous week. It does mark an improvement on the nearly 7 million people who lost their jobs in a single week back in March, but it's still well above the pre-pandemic record of just under 700,000. The government has changed the way it calculates those figures, which economists say makes it difficult to compare to previous data. But the trend does suggest that the labor market's recovery is now stalling and that millions of people are likely to remain out of work for some time to come. France is extending its financial support for parents whose children can't be in school. Some 32 schools have already closed since classes reopened earlier this week as the number of coronavirus cases rises, and that's left many families once again struggling to balance childcare with work. Luke Schrago reports.
Along with a COVID-19 uptick come class and school closures and a scramble for parents who thought they could go back to work without needing to juggle with the responsibilities of childcare.
On ne peut pas trouver comme ça la veille pour le lendemain des solutions. Le chômage partiel, si les classes sont fermées, il faut absolument le mettre en place.
The French government's now renewed financial measures it used during the lockdown to support beleaguered parents. If a nursery or school has to close or if a child is considered a contact case, one of the two parents will now receive benefit payments. Private sector workers will get 84% of their salary, the self-employed will get daily payments, and civil servants will get special authorization for paid leave. What's more, the measures are retroactive to the beginning of the month.
C'est l'établissement scolaire qui donnera aux parents un document administratif qui permettra d'attester que la classe ou que l'école est fermée. C'est ce document que les parents en question pourront remettre à leur employeur pour faire valoir le chômage partiel.
However, it only applies if working from home isn't an option. And given the difficulties many parents experienced in trying to handle their child's schooling alongside work, unions are concerned.
Lorsque vous avez des enfants qui sont petits et que votre activité est télétravaillable, on rentre dans quelque chose d'assez difficile qui, je le rappelle, était assez mal vécu par les travailleurs et travailleuses parce que malheureusement, souvent, c'est encore assez sexué, ces questions-là.
Either way, it's still more than many other nations have offered. Elsewhere, schools are still closed with lessons going online or even on TV. And support measures for parents with children at home during the lockdown weren't as generous, don't cover as many people, or haven't yet been renewed.
Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. The parent company of British Airways and Iberia says it's cutting more flights between now and the end of the year. IAG says its September to December schedule will see capacity at just 40% from the same period a year ago. The group is blaming quarantine restrictions for what it's called a delayed recovery in air travel. It now doesn't expect flights to resume to 2019 levels until the year 2023. TikTok is one step closer to possibly being banned in the United States. Bloomberg reports that the app's parent company, ByteDance, is likely to miss the deadline imposed by the Trump administration for its U.S. operations to be sold. A change in Chinese law has thrown a spanner in TikTok's negotiations. Top bidders include Microsoft and Oracle. And Huawei says it's planning to release a smartphone with its own homemade operating software. The US has banned it from using American technology, including Google's Android, as part of its broader crusade against the Chinese tech giant. Harmony OS is expected to launch early next year. Citigroup has appointed Jane Fraser to replace Michael Corbett as CEO. She'll be the first woman to lead a major Wall Street bank. Fraser is currently head of Citi's global consumer banking division. She's been with the bank for 16 years and has in the past spoken about the challenges of being a working mother with a career in the finance industry. She'll now be leading America's fourth largest bank by assets as it heads into a period of economic uncertainty and an expected wave of borrowing requests. And Tom, this is a real breakthrough on Wall Street. As of last year, just 31 women were at the head of companies that are listed on the S&P 500. At that time, none of them were banks.
Okay, well, as you say, an amazing breakthrough, and better late than never as well in this particular case. Thank you very much indeed. Our business editor, Kate Moody. Thank you. That's it from me. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay with us.